Hello my friends, welcome to today's video. I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. Today's watercolor video is for the absolute beginner in watercolor. I can tell you that when I began watercolor, I thought that because I can paint in acrylic and I can paint with alcohol ink, watercolor should be easy. But it's really not as easy as I thought it was. I watched a ton of YouTube videos and I thought I had it. And as soon as I put the brush to the paper, I realized that I didn't have it and I was getting discouraged. But I also found, and this is really important, that I was attempting to take on paintings that were way beyond my skill level. And when I could not achieve the painting, I was getting very discouraged. So I realized that what I needed to do was take on paintings that were achievable, very simple paintings, something that I could be proud of and something that would give me the confidence to take on something a little bit harder next time. And each painting that I did, whether it turned out well or it didn't turn out well, was an absolute learning experience because I learned how to control the water. I learned how to dilute my paints and what brushes worked better for what technique. I learned wet and wet, wet on dry. There were so many things to learn, and of course, I'm still learning. But I thought I would create this video because I know that there are a lot of watercolor beginners who are easily getting discouraged because their paintings are not looking like the reference photo. Even though they've watched a ton of videos, they're not achieving a painting that they can be proud of. So this painting is very, very simple and certainly a painting that once it's complete, you'll be proud of it and perhaps have the confidence to move on to something a little bit more difficult. So what I did here is I taped off the edges of my paper. I like that nice border around my paper, but of course you don't have to do that. And I'm using Winsor & Newton professional paints, but I purchased these tubes of paint individually, and they can be a little bit pricey. And if you're a beginner, you don't need the professional paints. Take a look in the description box where I have linked some very budget-friendly, wonderful beginner watercolor paints that are good to try. I also have everything else that you see me use here linked in the description box. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll always get back to you. And if you don't see the list, make sure to click on Show More or the arrow pointing down so that it will expand. All right, now back to the painting. So you can see here that the little houses that I drew for my little whimsical village are very, very simple. There's nothing perfect about it. If you can draw a line, a circle, or a square, you can absolutely accomplish this. So don't let the sketch get you discouraged. There's nothing difficult about this. Again, you can see none of my windows are perfect. There's no straight lines or anything like that. It's a really adorable, whimsical painting that is achievable, and it doesn't need to be perfect. That's what makes it whimsical, and that's what gives it the character. So to create the sky, what I did was I used the wet and wet technique. I wet down the area using my brush, a clean brush, and cleaned water. And I made sure that there were no puddles, that the paper just glistened. And I let the paper absorb the water just for a little bit, and then I dropped in the blue. And what that does it allows the paint to blend into the water and to soften, and it gives you a really nice smooth look. And now I'm just using these small brushes. The brushes I'm using are by Anna Mason, Rosemary & Co. I purchased them on Amazon, but I've not been able to find them again. So in the description box, I'll link these other brushes that I purchased that were a little bit less expensive, and they really work just as well. They have short bristles, and they give you a lot more control, and I find for the beginner that it is a really good option than getting brushes with longer bristles. It's almost like drawing with these brushes. So you can see I'm just using bright and cheerful colors to fill in the houses. Just going around my windows and doors. and using a heavy consistency of paint, meaning that there is more paint and less water so that I get a darker value. And I do this for contrast and interest. And using these little brushes allows me to be able to get into all those little nooks and crannies. And again, even now I'm using a smaller brush, which allows me to create even finer detail. Why is it every time I'm trying to do a voiceover, Diesel decides that he wants to go out, or he's snoring? So here I'm using a brown to add a little bit more detail to this house. And you can add as much or as little detail as you want. Now you can see that it doesn't look like much right now. That's why it's important that you follow through to the end of the video so that you can see how it goes through an ugly stage where you're wondering what the heck you're doing and you want to trash it, and then you'll see it come together. And for my alcohol ink followers, I want to let you know that I did recreate this painting using alcohol ink, and that will be my next posted video. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. It turned out just as adorable as this one. So now here I'm using a diluted consistency of yellow to fill in the windows that I want to appear lighted or lit. And then I'm using the same color that I used for my sky to fill in the windows that are dark. And I'm not trying to be perfect. You can see that my circles are not perfectly round, but that's okay if your paint goes outside of your lines. Don't worry about it, because we're going to be using gel pens and micron pens to outline this and to add even more detail, and that's when the entire painting comes together. I was over a friend's house recently, and her daughter wanted me to color with her, and I love coloring books. So I came across a page where they had this cute little village like this, and that's where I got the idea for this painting. I enjoyed coloring the picture so much that I thought I would recreate it in watercolor, and then I enjoyed that so much that I had to make sure that I could share it with my alcohol ink followers as well. So that, like I said, that video will be coming up shortly. You can find inspiration anywhere, even in a coloring book. So now here I am outlining some of the windows and adding some detail using a white gel pen. If you don't have the white gel pens, you can use micron pens, you can use gouache, you can use the watercolor, you can even use an ink pen, a regular ink pen, whatever you have available. And again, you can see my windows are a little wonky, and that's okay, because that gives the painting, this type of painting, it gives it character. We're not trying to be precise. It's just a fun little painting, one that you can be proud of when it's finished, and one that may give you the confidence to move on to something a little bit more difficult. Now these gel pens, I'm not sure where I purchased them. It could have been like Dollar Tree. And it came in a pack with all these different, some are metallics and some are not. But they were very inexpensive. So check out Dollar Tree for these gel pens. They won't be linked below. So you can see I'm just adding some detail using different colors of gel pens and outlining each of the houses rather. Thickening up some of the lines. and even adding a little detail to this roof just by drawing some lines across it. And on this particular roof, I'm adding some scallops, and they're not perfectly straight. They're not even aligned properly. I'm just filling in the area. And these little details are what makes this painting so interesting and so much fun. You can see that I've outlined some of the windows using brown. I've used black and white. And I didn't film this part, but once I was finished with the video, I decided to add some flower boxes, and all I did was use my brown metallic gel pen to draw a couple of little lines underneath some of the windows, and then I used a green and a red gel pen, and I just did some dots to make it look like greenery and flowers. Now here, this is a really fun detail. I'm taking a small flat brush, and I've picked up some heavier consistency of the either the red or the green or even some brown, and I've just created these little swipes of my brush across the house to make it look like stone or brick. And in the areas where I used more, I made sure to stagger them so it looks like stone. And on some of the houses, I just did a couple of little swipes here and there. And that's a really cute detail to add. And it's really simple. If you try this painting, please be sure to share it with me on my Facebook page in the comment section just below the video. I would love to see how you do. And now you can see that I've used my white gel pen to create this cute little crescent moon, and I've added a couple of little dots to look like stars. And I'm just going around the painting, adding a few more details, and we are finished. How cute is that painting? Definitely something to be proud of. I hope that you give this painting a try. Thanks for watching. Bye.